Talking about women, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about women. Okay, my name is Esther, and if you don't know me, maybe you'll know me in future. But it's nice to meet everyone, and today is Women's Day, so I'll talk a little bit about women, and I'll talk about what is important for us women. It won't be a Women's Day if we just talk about some things, about men and what, but I want us to also feel special at this moment. So my ministry is called A Woman's Body and Mind, A Woman's Body and Mind, because I love to speak to women. I love who I am first. I love the way God made me. I think it was intentional that God made me a woman. And I also want other women to accept themselves, to love themselves as they are, and to also know more about themselves, so it can help us, especially the mind. Because I'm studying medicine, this is my 4th year, and I have found out that it's the mind where things come from the most. And if you know how to, like the way some men were saying, like emotions, right? If you know how to tame your emotions, it will help us so much. And I know that most of the women have this thing of not knowing how, because they feel like this, they'll act like this, they'll feel like this, they'll act like this. So many are the times that women make decisions upon their feelings, upon their emotions, and that is not good for us. So I said I'm going to study about this. I'm going to study about a woman's body and mind, so that I can help my fellow women study from myself first, because I had to tame myself. When I came to China the first time, that was in 2015, I was all over the place. I didn't know what to do, so I met someone who is with me right now. Yeah, that was 4 years ago, I think. We're about to celebrate our 4 years anniversary in April. So I met him, and he helped me to discover first who am I in God myself. He helped me to do that, and even before he wanted to seek my attention as someone who wants to be with me, he made sure that I find out what I want to do in life, my purpose in life. I will say this, one of the people who wrote those things about men was actually me. Yeah, and I say to say, men are supposed to help women to fulfill their purpose on earth. You know, when God created the heavens and the earth, and the man and the woman, he knew the purpose of a man and a woman, and he told Adam first. That's what I said in the phrases. I said God told Adam first about everything about the Garden of Eden. Then Adam told the wife, right? Is it true or not?
True.
Then Adam told the wife. So why is it that a woman should bring the man to church? Why is it that the woman is the first one to come to church? If it's in a home where there are children, the woman will be the first one to get ready and then tell the husband, we have to go to church. When Adam was the first one in the Garden of Eden, and he's the one who first understood God and then explained the Garden of Eden and God to Eve. So how come it's vice versa? So men should ask themselves that. You have to help your woman to understand her purpose on earth. You have to help your woman to understand what is it that God created in her that is so special above every other woman, that you see in her, that you want it to blossom. So that is one thing that I really wanted to mention about what we women want from men. We want men who are able to cultivate us. Do you know what it means to cultivate? To bring out the goodness in us, to bring out the beauty in us. Beauty is not just about the outward appearance, but it is inside. If you can find it for us, and you men can tell us to say, you know, I know you're beautiful from the outside. I know you can put on some makeup. It's great and amazing. But what you can do for other women, what you can do for other people is more beautiful than you are. If there's a man who can say that, how can we be nagging? You know, how can we be sarcastic? If there's a man who understands us when we're feeling those kinds of emotions, he will just sit down, listen all the time as we are saying, no, me today, these girls did what. Because sometimes we say so many things, but they're not sensible, right? But you just listen, and after you listen, you just say one word to say, you know what, they don't understand you, but I understand you and I love you anyway. How can we be sarcastic to such a man? Do you understand what I'm saying? So the first thing is, help us to understand our purpose. Help us to understand our purpose and help us to cultivate the goodness in us. And also, okay, this was for the men, but let me go back to my main thing that I'm here. So I'm going to talk about a story about some women in the Bible, and that is from Exodus 1 verse 15 to 22. These are women that I've not really talked about, but I'll talk about them today. Exodus 1 verse 15 to 22. Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. So these Hebrew women were midwives. We all know midwives, right? Midwives are the women who help the other women to give birth. So you know that there is so much power in midwives. They can kill or they can leave the child to live. Why? Because when a woman is giving birth, at that point they're helpless. They are powerless. And so if the midwife is evil, she can kill the child. And if the midwife is good, the child might live even though they pass through some kind of bad situations in that time. So the king at that time told the midwives to say, if the child is a man, then you should kill him. But if a child is a woman, if the child the people are going to be giving birth to is a woman, then you should let them live. Now listen, this is the part where it was an option for the midwives to listen to. Sometimes, we're in a situation where we have to obey the law of the people or the government or anyone, or to obey God's law. So they were faced in between that kind of decision. It's either they follow the king's command or they follow what God says. So let's go on to read verse 17. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. So these women are the women who saved the men at that time. Do you agree with me? If these women were evil enough, there was no man who was supposed to be born at that time. This is the importance of a woman. There is so much importance of a woman. When a woman is good enough, she can turn a man's heart into a pure God, a pure man's with a godful heart, like a heart of God. That is how powerful a woman is. If a woman decides and knows where she stands with God, and she firstly fears God, she knows what is right, she can turn a man who is bad into a woman that is good. One time I was sitting with my friends and I was asking them, because she was telling me that she was in a house where there were 15 children, and it was only one woman who was taking care of those 15 children. I was asking her to say, why is it that it is possible that a woman can take care of 15 children alone? And she was only a secretary, the same woman, but she used to feed the children, and the whole 15 children used to go to school. How did she manage? And if you put a man in that kind of circumstance, how many men would manage? A few, maybe 0.1%. The power of a woman is so important if she fears God. Fear God, my fellow women. Know and understand your purpose and why you were created. If you know, you will not compete with your friends. If you know, you will know that this is the time for church. It's not the time for me to do my makeup. If you know that this is the time for me to go to class and understand why I'm in class, learn and be somebody in future and help others who are not created to be, there's a thing that even in medicine we learn this. In the beginning, women were created to be the people who are attractive, so they can attract a man, and after they attract a man, they can multiply the earth. That was what people understood in the beginning. So there was nothing like a woman can do something like, even in other countries, it's still like this. Women are only the people who take care of the house, give birth to children, and do some things that's all. They can't do much. For you to have a passport in some countries, you have to ask for permission from your husband. For you to drive, You have to ask for permission from the government, then you can drive as a woman. In some countries, it's still like that. But you know, in the Bible itself speaks of so many women who were prophetesses, actually. People who stood up for the truth. And how can we stand and just say, no, me, I'll just do this and this and have children? And me, I said no to that life a long time ago. I said I will not just be an ordinary woman, I'll be an extraordinary woman. A woman that when I die, some people will say, this is the place where lies a woman who touched so many lives. That is what you should make up with your mind. You can be a woman who is special. You can be a woman where when people see you, even if they don't know you, even if they haven't heard about you, but they'll see you for one day and say, wow, is this really how Christians are? Is this how modesty looks like? Do you know modesty? Do you understand what is modesty? Do you understand what the Proverbs 31 verse 10 woman talks about? You know, understand yourself. This is the time where you have to decide, is it that I'm going to live an ordinary life and just die, or I'm going to live a life where people will look up to me, my children will look up to me, my husband will look up to me. When my husband goes outside, he will boast about me and say, I'm going back to the woman who loves me. I'm going back to a home that I know that I'm safe. Even if at work I have people who don't believe in me, I have a woman who believes in me. That is the kind of woman that a man is looking for. That is kind of a woman that God seeks from us. And so this day of Women's Day is not just for us to come and laugh, to come and joke, to come and feel good about us, ourselves as women, but also reflect about yourself. Why did God make me a woman? In this world of where people do not understand, why am I a man? They want to change themselves. There are people in my school, there are a lot of people from Thailand who are men and women. You could think it's a man, but actually it's a woman. Or you can think it's a woman, but actually it's a man. In this world where identity has lost its purpose, no one knows who they are. They will say, I think I am a man trapped in a woman's body. Why is it that God made you a woman? It was for something. It was for a purpose. And if you understand and know your purpose, it will be easy for you to live in life and you won't compete with anyone. These women in the Bible that I've read about today, they knew who they were in God and they feared God first. So what the king of Egypt said at that time, they did not get it. They did not do it. Why? Because the fear of God was in them. Fear God first. Have the love of God in your heart. Do not be nagging. You know, nagging means that you don't know what you're saying, but you want something to be done. You're not sure of what you're saying, but you just want to be heard. Some people use their voices just to be like a bell. You know, a bell, just to be heard by someone. Do not seek for attention by nagging. It's not good. Do you understand?